If you've been trying to build apps, you've probably used tools like Lovable, Bolt, and most probably tried to build with ChatGPT, perhaps Gemini or Claude. In this video, I'm going to break down the new infrastructure of Replit Agent 3. So when we have a look at what Agent 3 does differently, it's got much longer running time. I know previously you had 20 minutes. I think that was max. So you could have an app being built and the app will start to run and will do what it needs to do. However, though, you still needed to check up between 10 and 20 minutes whether the app was done or not. Where now Replit claims that it is 200 minutes, which is fantastic. It's also self-testing. So what that means is it's got its own little browser, which you will see shortly, on where it goes and tests the features and debugs and sort out those bugs itself, which is fantastic because a lot of times it requires us as humans. I don't know about you, but I'm not a developer. I don't have the code or technical skills to always go out and try to resolve bugs. So I continuously would tell Replit's agents to fix this bug. And a lot of times it can get into some form of hallucinations, which can then take up quite a bit of your credits. Now with this, it's already self-testing. By default, I'm sure that the credits will increase as it does have much longer running time, but now it does resolve those errors on your behalf, so you don't necessarily have to go back and prompt it. Agent generation. So now there's an autonomous feature where you can also schedule automations. I'm curious to see what that does in comparison to N8N, but for the purpose of this walkthrough, we're just going to test out Replit Agent's 3 new features, Replit Agent 3, the new features, and what that looks like in practice. If you don't have Replit 3, I've dropped the link down in the description below for you to try out Replit. You do get $10 off your first month if you are not a Replit member as of yet. But then I've also dropped in the Agent 3 link where you can go and learn a bit more about that. But for this example, let's jump straight in. So usually my process is very simple. I go into ChatGPT and I write the prompt out. So I said here to Chat, build me a clean dashboard where users can launch and track different AI agents with status indicators, chat style log. Create an agent management component with agent edit functionality and agent performance metrics. I want you to focus on building a LangChain framework for the infrastructure, as each agent needs to communicate to the other agents to ensure work gets done successfully. Use this prompt template below and ensure that you've included all Replit's Agent 3, and then I just added the link there for it to go and research if it needs to, building infrastructure to assist with the build. So the template that I take it through is this application designer specification template. By the way, guys, I dropped that down in the description for you at no cost for you to access. So essentially what this does is it just helps out with the plan of the app. A lot of times when we get into building an app, we just prompt it like I've prompted ChatGPT, right? And we think we have everything sorted. But as the app gets built, the problems become much harder to solve because now there's features you didn't think about. Now there's nuances you didn't think about that needed to be well thought out and planned. And in my opinion, this really just helps to save a lot of cost. So I do have that inside here, and I will then let ChatGPT go through all of that and then give me back the filled out template based on what I'm looking to create and what that looks like for Claude. So as we can see here, the agent is currently going through and thinking about exactly what it needs to do in order to provide us the template back. Once we have that, we will then take it over to Replit. Alright guys, so now that ChatGPT finished filling out this entire template, we then go to Replit and we then paste that inside. Then I just usually say the app and ensure to keep the context of the attached content into consideration. Now, what's nice about Replit is you can also start to do your own themes. You can decide what the app's font should be, what the colors are, the entire brand kit, essentially. You can come and you can change. I'm just going to leave it to see what it comes up with on my behalf, and then I will just say start. So as we can see here at the top, Replit is currently planning it out, and then based on the plan that Replit gives back to us, if it's accurate, we can then allow it to start building. So as we can see right now, it is currently busy in the planning stages. Okay, so now Replit has identified all the context needed to be able to go about building the app. It needs to be a sophisticated multi-agent platform with real-time monitoring, workflow management, and LangChain and LangGraph integrations. The user authentication system with Replit needs to be built. Perfect. Agent CRUD operations with configuring roles, tools, and model settings. That's perfect. Multi-agent workflow orchestration using LangChain, LangGraph architecture, that's good. Real-time run monitoring, that's good. Interactive dashboard and showing agent status, good. Run management system with start ports, resume, stop, reply, perfect. Chat style event log with calls, messages, results, that's good. Basic agent configuration including system prompts, tool assessments, great. Database is good. OpenAI integration is good as well. So you can go and you can change the plan if you want to. And then what's also new now is now I can see I've created a future list based on your request. If everything looks good, we can start creating how do you want to continue. Now there's going to be two paths. We can either say build the entire app or then start with design. Now depending on your needs and also depending on your budget, this is going to be crucial for you to decide the right pathway. Now for this example, I'm going to try to build out the entire app. Right, I've got no design specifications or ideals, so I'm going to let Replit use its own imagination and build something with that. However, though, I do think it's much wiser starting out, depending on the thoroughness of your research, to see what it looks like if you do the design first to make sure that all the functions are there and everything looks good, and then continue to build. But let's see what that looks like right now. So right now we can see the agent is starting out and getting its own infrastructure set up. So while Replit is planning this build and currently getting everything sorted on its side, you can see we are currently using Agent 3. And what's also nice at the bottom is you can start to see what this looks like. So you've got app testing. I've got this on. This is really just to help test the app. So if there's any bugs, anything needs to be fixed, we press that. And max autonomy, this is the main feature of this. This is where Replit depends on the scope of the agent to maximize the autonomy. This is most probably the area that we should go into, and I would put this on. I first want to see what it gives us back, and then we've got other options as well, which is image generation and web search if we need that, and if we need to have the high power model, which is fantastic, but it is 5 times more expensive than your normal usage. To build apps, depending on the app, you could consider putting it on, but I don't necessarily do that. Now, taking into consideration that was with Replit 2, it's not Replit 3, so I first want to see, based on that, what Replit is currently creating and what that looks like. On the far right side, you'll also have all the different coding files. You can look at your app secret keys, and you can also go into your account secret key. So this is basically where you go into your client ID, whichever CRM you're using, whichever LLM you're using, everything can be plugged in here so that you don't necessarily have to continuously add that in. And that is a really great benefit of Replit, in my opinion. And then another important aspect here is the security. So Replit partnered with company called SemGroup, and SemGroup helps to run security protocols to ensure that your app is sorted. Now, this is not like a SOC 2 authentication certification process. This is purely just helping you to look at code vulnerabilities and ensure that that's all sorted. Now, when you look at other apps like Bolt, Lovable, any other apps that does something similar to Replit, they just don't have that. So there's always that security vulnerability, and depending on whether you're building apps for yourself or building apps for your clients, that can be quite catastrophic if hackers get into the infrastructure. And that's not necessarily something, again, if you're like me, you don't have any development background or capabilities or experience, that could be a flaw, and essentially that will cause some problems. Another thing that I do want to show you guys that's very awesome is, back in the day, you couldn't really upload a photo to Replit. You needed to host the photo somewhere else and then use that link of where it's hosted for Replit to use it. But now you can just search app storage and you can start to create a bucket and drop all your creative assets in there for it to use. Yeah, you can also have a look at your integrations. You can look at your database, your key value store, but also have a look at all the external services like OpenAI, Gemini AI. You can look at Anthropic, Perplexity, all of these different APIs you want to plug into your app, you can do, and what I see here, what they brought into now is Slack, which is fantastic. So you can set up notifications, or you can set up automations all the way through to Slack. Now I'll make another video comparing Slack and Replit's new automation feature, where you can have a look at how to set up automations for yourself and perhaps run them through to Slack or run them through to Telegram. Okay, Replit is done with the initial setup here. So we can see the time worked here was 11 minutes. The work done was 110 actions. We can see that there's 4,500 items, 7,500 plus code. And then we can also see the usage here was only $1.75, right? So let's see if anything is working on this front. Let's go back. Perhaps let's open this in a new tab. Okay, so this is what the infrastructure looks like. I'm definitely not a fan of the font. Okay, there's the first crash. Let's see if we can go back. So I think it's the workflows, yeah. Runs, configuration, also not working. Okay. Let's create a new run, connected to real time. Interesting. Coming soon. Agents, let's see if we can create a new agent. Same here. Okay, so that's a good first start. So let's do this. Let's put up the max autonomy and let's tell it here. Let's go first to plan. And this is really awesome because now you can plan before you build, right? So now we have this infrastructure. Then we can say something like, would it be a massive change if I were to ask the agents to change the font of the entire app to something more current, or can I change it later? And now in this planning session, we can have a conversation with the AI to fully understand what it's going to take and make better decisions, right? So in the past, you couldn't really chat. I used to go to the assistant and ask my questions in here, and it worked quite well. But now looking at the planning component of it, it really helps. Now you can really start to see what's happening and get insights into the app before fully investing all of your money into it. Okay, so the agent came back and said changing the font would actually be a very small change. The app is well architected for this type of update. Looking at your app's architecture, changing the font will be a very small change. Definitely. Okay, cool. Now it gives us the reason why and why it's easy to change. All fine. And then now we have here ensure complete app functionality, advanced metrics and analytics dashboard. We can now continue to build this based on the MVP that it gave us, which I think is fantastic. So let's continue to build with that. Okay, so now it's currently going into building, but let's say we want a Apple style font, right? So now we can change over to bold mode again. I'm just going to drop that in there, and then we can add that to the queue. Okay, well, let's also start to build that. I'm not entirely sure what's currently happening there. Let's add this, which is similar to Apple, and now we can basically add it to the queue. So let's say there's a few other things we pick up while the agent is busy building. We can always just go in here, drop some questions, drop some features, and then schedule it to the queue. So once it's done with that by itself, whatever it was busy with, it will now come back to taking what is in the queue and start to build based on that. But what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to wait for the agent to complete, as we did put on the max autonomy. Now this could take quite some time to get done. Once it's done, I'm going to play it again and we'll see what I created and how it works. I just wanted to show you guys what happens here when it helps itself. So here you can see enable agent editing by replacing the coming soon placeholder, and then it will show you here. I'll complete this. I can see the issue. Then it creates a task list for itself, but it also then focuses on the modifications and then also looking into how to modify that and how to resolve that, which is fantastic. Welcome back, guys. So what you can see here is it basically finished 2 hours and 4 minutes of work. We had 577 actions by the agents, and then also we had 13,000 items that was read, and also added almost 12,000 lines of code, which is ridiculous. And that all cost us $26. Now, I haven't tested it. As we can see here, it is actually still busy. Well, it's not actively busy, but from this list to complete, there's quite a bit still to happen. But for the sake of this video, I just want to show you guys what that looks like right now. Alright guys, so this is what the app currently looks like after Replit has now built this entire app for at least 2 hours. Now, I opened it up here, I've signed in. So let's have a look at what everything looks like. Remember guys that it is not fully completed. We still have these tasks outstanding. But from what I can see with the dummy data here, it looks like there's quite a bit happening, especially on the front end side. Let's see if we create our first agent. We can say write scripts and copy in the tone of Johnny. See the different models here. That's all good. Let's see here. Okay, well, for this example, let's create this agent. Awesome. We can edit the agent, which is fantastic. You can also see that the agent is running. Workflows still not working. At least we can see that we've got one agent running. And then we can start to create multi-agent workflows or single agent workflows. We can choose the current workflow. Let's say a video script about Replit 3. Start doing that. Okay. It's currently starting with that. The analytics here. This is really good as a start. I mean, I think if I give it another, let's say another 2 hours and another $26, I might have a completely fully operating management system for agents. The only thing here is the workflows that we still need to create. But I mean, I can build something in there similar to what Replit now has. Also, configuration still needs to be connected. But yeah, overall, I am very happy with what came out here. The new run feature also isn't working. Let's quickly see. It's currently running for 1 minute. Yeah, this is very good. So there you have it, guys. Replit Agent 3. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you are looking to build. And by the way, guys, if you're looking to build apps yourself, I've got a 5-day challenge inside of our school community. I've linked it down in the description below for you to access and see what you can build in 5 days. We're not just going through app challenges. We are helping to find ideas, dive into those specifics and see how to apply those to actually have a fully functional app after the 5 days. Within that, we've also got a lot of different information inside of the school community. We're more than happy to have a look. See you there.